Hello, I'm David Hernandez, your host for the Old Bridge Township Mayoral Debate. Distinguished guests and esteemed members of the community, it is my utmost pleasure to extend a warm welcome as we gather here for a truly momentous occasion. We find ourselves at the heart of democracy, where perspectives will be shared and the future of our beloved Old Bridge Township will be shaped. It is also an opportunity for you to gain a deeper understanding of the candidate's character, leadership qualities, and abilities to navigate the complex challenges that lie ahead. I stand before you as a humble host tasked with the honor of introducing the remarkable individuals who have stepped forward to vie for the esteemed position of Old Bridge Township Mayor. This debate serves as a critical platform for these candidates to articulate their visions, unveil their plans, and demonstrate their unwavering commitment to our community's growth and prosperity. Throughout this debate, we encourage you to actively listen to the dialogue unfolding before you. Be prepared to analyze their proposals, question the candidates' viewpoints, and critically assess the strategies they put forward so that you can ultimately cast your vote in favor of the individual who resonates with your aspirations for Old Bridge Township. Let us embrace the spirit of healthy debate, respectful dialogue, and thoughtful consideration as we embark on this journey together. I implore you to lend your ear, open your hearts, and absorb the wisdom that will be shared tonight. Without further ado, let us commence this enlightening debate where our candidates for Old Bridge Township Mayor shall present their ideas, embodying the hopes and dreams of our vibrant community. Thank you, and may tonight's discourse guide us towards a brighter future for all. And here are the ground rules for this debate. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to introduce themselves. Then each candidate will be asked the same question and will have 3 minutes to provide a response. The opponent may have a 1-minute rebuttal should they choose. I, as the moderator, will provide notice to the candidates when they have 1 minute remaining to respond to their questions. It is important that each candidate does not exceed their allotted time. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing remarks after the question and answer segment has concluded. Prior to the beginning of this debate, to preserve fairness, there is a coin toss to determine which candidate goes first. Do either of you have any questions?
No, David.
No.
Okay, so let's begin. I'll grab the questions. Now, we went before, as we mentioned earlier, where we had our coin toss, and Councilwoman Walker, you won the coin toss. Mm-hmm. So you'll be asked the first question, but before we get into the questions, each one of you will have 5 minutes to talk about yourselves to the viewers. So we'll start with Councilwoman Walker.
Thank you, David. Thank you for hosting this. I really appreciate it. My name is Debbie Walker. I represent the Republican Party. I'll tell you a little about myself. I've lived in Old Bridge about 37 years with my husband, Bruce, and my 2 sons. They were raised here in Old Bridge. They went through the Old Bridge school system. I was a volunteer in many things, beginning with my children. I was volunteering with the Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, and role as leader. My one son went on to become an Eagle Scout. Then my husband is very interested in fire department. He used to be on a fire department since he was 18 years old. So when we moved here, he joined the fire department. So his interest in the fire department made me have an interest in fire department. So I went to school and I got my fire inspector license as well as my fire marshal license. Then I ran for fire commissioner, and I served on the Board of Fire Commissioners for 6 years in the role as treasurer and president. Then I ran for town council, which I presently have been serving on town council now for 12 years in the role of council at large. There are 9 council seats. 6 of them represent each ward, and then there are 3 at-large council people, and I am one of the 3 council at large, so I represent the entire town, so I've gotten to know the town very well. I've also been involved in many other things. I've been on the planning board, I've been on the Cheesequake Ladies Auxiliary, the Mid-Madison Women's Club, and of course the Cheesequake Volunteer Fire Company is a big part of our life, and I volunteer for as many things I can through the baseball, soccer, and things like that. And as a role as a fire commissioner, I think that has really prepared me for my role on the town council, because it prepared me for budgeting. Because as a fire commissioner, we didn't have the staff we have at town here. So it was the responsibility of the treasurer and the president of the fire commission to do the budget. And we also negotiated union contracts. And at that time, I began to attend a lot of council meetings. I didn't miss one for many, many years. So I knew what was happening in the town, and I had a sense of how everything worked. And I saw how the town was going in the wrong direction, how they were selling land to balance the budget. And at that time, I decided it was time for me to step up and run for council. I ran for my large seat, which I won. I've been held for 12 years now. And I think we've done a great job with the town. We've turned the town from a $7 million deficit to a AA positive bond rating. And this year, we've had a municipal tax decrease of 1.09%. So I'm very proud of my record. And I think I have so much overwhelming experience that I'm ready to take on the job as mayor from day one without learning on the job.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman DeCaro, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, David, and also thanks for hosting this.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jill DeCaro, and I am running for mayor on the Democratic ticket, column A. And my history in this town, I've lived here for 25 years. My kids all grew up, went through the Old Bridge schools, graduated from Old Bridge schools, graduated from college, and are very successful now. So I love Old Bridge. From the minute I moved in, I wanted to dedicate myself to improving anything that I could, you know, and at the time it was my children's school, because that was what was important to me at the time. Right away, I got involved with the school's PTA, and I became president of the PTA at Shira, Sandburg, PTSA president of the high school. I was also coordinator of PTA President's Council. After that, I ran and was elected twice to the Board of Education, where I served as president and vice president, dealing with a $150 million budget. During that time, 2019, we experienced a massive cut to our state aid because of a school funding formula that was being applied. And we struggled to try to maintain as many programs as we could, we did not cut any programs. We were in a deficit. We were constantly being cut money. We did have to make some layoffs, but we were able to maintain all the programs that we had for our students. Our students did not lose out on any of it. At one point, we realized that there was a piece of land that we were not using. It was conveyed to us through Mr. Bernetti that he wanted, his restriction was to build a school. That area deemed unfit for building a school. So in order for us to close the gap in our budget, we put that out to bid for sale. That piece of land was valued at $3.6 million, and we negotiated a deal for $10 million, so triple what the land was worth. And that money was enabled us to help close gaps in our budget and keep our schools running without affecting any of our students. It turns out that the developer that was building, he had already had a plan that was already approved through the redevelopment committee, had a plan of building warehouses, and he needed that piece of land. That's why he spent so much money on it. He needed that land because it was an easement. So reason I'm telling you this is because I am able to make the difficult decisions that need to be made, and I do it in the best interests of the Old Bridge residents, the students, listening to all sides of the equation. I will always listen to all sides of the equation, get the information, pro and con, and then we make a decision. I stand by that decision. It was the right one to do, and I would do it again if I had to. That being said, I do have leadership experience. I don't have leadership experience in the council. I've only been on the council for 2 years. So I definitely don't have as much experience as my opponent, but what I lack in experience, I make up for in passion, compassion, and empathy. And for that reason, I look for your support for mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies. Appreciate that. So as we begin, we're going to begin with our questions.
Okay.
Our questions have not been provided to either one of you, so we'll be asking questions for the first time. And as our coin toss has indicated, Councilwoman Walker will be given the first question. And the first question goes, how do you plan to collaborate with other levels of government, including county, state, and neighboring towns to secure funding and resources for our city's projects and initiatives?
Well, David, we have been doing that all along. We have, our heads of departments are constantly looking for grants out there. Our head of, our senior, Anna Hede-Feltz, has received hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant money. Also, we have received so much grant money for the Cottrell Park that's being built over here, millions of dollars. In fact, just the other night, we just got $1.2 million more for Cottrell Park. We have also received many other grants where Morganville Road was paved with grant money, also Ticetown Road was paved with grant money, where all our department heads are actively always out there seeking grant money, because as you know, when you receive grant money, it's no burden to the taxpayers. And we have a phenomenal team that's constantly out there every day searching for grant money. We also, Menino Park, as you know, I don't know if you know, they're putting 3 more fields in Menino Park.
Yes.
And well, luckily, Sayerwood South Baseball, who is underwater most of the time, they're going to be able to move over to Menino Park, and the girls' softball is going to have a new home, and it's beautiful if you haven't been there. It's absolutely beautiful. It's lit at night, it's going to be. And so we are always out there looking for grant money to come to Old Bridge, to help with the taxpayers, to take the burden off of them.
That's great. That's great. And so we'll ask the same question. Councilwoman DeCaro, how do you plan to collaborate with other levels of government, including county, state, and neighboring towns, to secure the funding and resources for our city's projects and initiatives?
Well, already I have established relationships with county legislators and state legislators. And I plan on utilizing those relationships and growing our relationship. Oftentimes I speak to members of the county, and yes, we're applying for grants, and I think it's wonderful that we apply. We get so many grants from county and from state, and it's wonderful. And you know, a lot of times I hear that, you know, oh, we're doing things with no help from county or state, and I question that, because I say, you know, we're getting all these grants, you know, so how can you say that the county's not helping you? So, you know, I question sometimes that, but I know I have direct relationships with the county commissioners, with congressmen, and with the Speaker of the House currently, and I can use those relationships to enhance and grow what we have in Old Bridge, in addition to providing the grants, because yeah, our department heads are amazing at going after, as Councilwoman Walker mentioned, you know, Anna Hede-Feltz, our director of the senior center, I mean, she's amazing at getting grants, and those are fantastic. You know, but I definitely have those relationships. It's all about collaboration. It's all about collaboration and working and compromising with other people. And again, it doesn't matter what party you're from. All it matters is that you're working together for the best thing for Old Bridge. And of course, you know, always keeping the taxes stable. You know, that's first and foremost.
Right. Well, as this is our first question, we'll just remind of the ground rules. So each one had the question, and you have a 1-minute rebuttal should you choose to.
Okay,
Would you like to
I'd like to add to that
sure.
too. I think we're going to be very fortunate, as people may know, that Mayor Henry is going to be moving up to the state senate. And with him in the state senate, he's going to be an advocate and a voice for Old Bridge. He's been raised in Old Bridge his whole life. His heart's in Old Bridge. So I feel that it's going to be an advocate for Old Bridge. If there's grant money out there, I'm sure he will be a voice to help us, I'm sure. And we always are out there working with either party. It doesn't matter to me. Old Bridge always comes first in my mind, and it always has.
Great, great. Well, you guys are doing good. You're under the time limits. So that was a good first test for all of us, all right? So I got my nifty little timer here. You'll hear some beeps and some all kinds of things going, but we'll keep it going. But we touched base a little bit already on land and development. So this next question kind of rolls right into what we were discussing earlier, is what is your stance on balancing economic growth and environmental sustainability within our township? So this question is for you, Ms.
Well, right now economic growth is happening. in Old Bridge. We have a lot of storefronts. We have a lot of buildings that are going up. The Walmart development up there. We just had a ribbon cutting. A new business was there. I think it's an urgent care. We're doing a lot of ribbon cuttings, and I credit that to our Director of Economic Development. I mean, I think he's doing a wonderful job. What I would like to see, though, is having those stores that we already have being, worked on being filled before we start to build more. That's my concern, and that's what, as I go out and speak to residents, the concern is all of the building, and we have a lot of open storefronts. And again, I know that he's working hard to fill those, but I would like to see those filled first before we start building more and more that we potentially can't fill. So that's, and preserving environmental, preserving open space is key. We do have a lot of wetlands in Old Bridge,
yes.
So a lot of it can't be developed on, which is wonderful, because that stays the way it is. And, I am hoping to expand. I've always been a proponent of open space. When I started running for my council campaign, that was one of the things that I ran on, was open space. And I hadn't seen any meetings. I was looking for minutes of meetings, and I couldn't find any, because there hadn't been a meeting in a while. And I know that they've just started it up again. But, that's definitely something that right now I think we should focus on, is just putting money more into the open space and celebrating that.
Sure. Well, thank you. So, Councilwoman Walker, what is your stance on balancing economic growth, environmental sustainability here in Old Bridge?
Well, I could give you a good example of that. The global landfill is a cleanup area, and they were not paying their taxes. So they were $2 million in arrears, and it was coming back to the Old Bridge taxpayers, because when taxes are not paid, it's going to come out of the pockets of the Old Bridge taxpayer. So we were lucky enough to have someone come in that was interested in purchasing it to build a solar farm on it. So now there's going to be a solar farm on there. We're going to get, the taxes are going to be paid, which haven't been paid in a long time. It's costing about $70,000 a year to Old Bridge taxpayers. But not only that, first responders are going to get a discount on their electric if they qualify, and also apartment dwellers that don't have access to roofs are also going to be able to qualify for that as well. So I think that's a win-win for the environment. It makes the use of a space. And as to go back to the storefront question, as you know, we cannot force people to build a business where we want. It's up to the person when they're investing their money where they want to build. And also today, society likes to buy things online. So a lot of storefronts are going out because of that. But we have done a wonderful job of bringing businesses to Old Bridge. We've had over 300 ribbon cuttings. Steve Amakis, our head of Mayor's Economic Development, is doing a phenomenal job. Every day he's out there looking for businesses to come to Old Bridge. They do a demographic study to see if they want to come here. Like, for instance, people are saying, we want Trader Joe's. Well, he's reached out to them, but when they do their study, this might not be the fit for them. So he's always reaching out to find places to come. In addition to that, Steve is always in contact with the businesses that are already here, making sure they're happy, everything's going okay. For example, during COVID, we reached out to all these businesses to try to help them to make it through COVID. We let them have all outdoor dining. We waived all the permits and things like that for it to help them get through COVID. And I would say almost all the businesses survived through COVID, as well as the town. We did a phenomenal job because we were in such a good financial state. And as you know, we need businesses in town.
1 minute.
Okay. We need businesses in town to help take the burden off the taxpayer. And as far as open space, I'm on the Open Space Committee, and we don't have our own open space tax. We get money, we have to count on money from the county. So what we have been doing, and now that Old Bridge is in such good financial standing, Open Space Committee has been looking at the map of Old Bridge, and we are looking to purchase parcels of land throughout the town. And there are many farms that have been preserved. We have the Rose and Lamberson Farm, the Cottrell Park, the Gaspertrek Park Farm. There have been many preserved. I am a big proponent of open space, and I'm going to definitely pursue buying open space.
Great. Well, thank you. Councilwoman DeCaro, would you like to rebut?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so we do have money that we were able to put into our open space fund as a result of the warehouses that have gone up. You know, they are contributing money to us. We have several pilot programs going on, but this one, they're contributing money to the municipality. That doesn't go to anybody, any other entity. It doesn't go to relief taxes. It comes to per se, it comes to the municipality. So now that's why we have the extra money that we're able to put to preserve open space. And
30 seconds.
With regard to the open storefronts, I say again, you can't, people aren't going to want to move, create their business in a building if it's not built. You know, again, fill the spaces that are there currently. Don't build anymore is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. So as we move on, so we had Councilwoman Walker, we had Councilwoman DeCaro answer. Now we're back. So
Okay.
round robin. Here we go. So next question for you. Do you agree that the recent developments in Old Bridge are in line with economic and population growth, or is there overdevelopment?
Well, let's begin. We'll talk about the development that's currently going on Route 9 that people are seeing being built right now. I just want people to know that that was approved in 1996. Actually, anyone that knows John Bernetti, he owned half of Old Bridge, and unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, and his son wanted out of Old Bridge, so he's selling up everything. So that development was approved in 1996 for the buildings that's currently going up now. In fact, there were barrack-style apartments that were supposed to go in similar to what you see at Glenwood Apartment right now, because Bernetti owned Glenwood Apartments. And we were able to change that and cut down some of the apartments in there as well to make it to fit more with our times. Because what was approved in 1996 does not fit in Old Bridge now. Because the state doesn't let plans sunset. It's very unfortunate. I think after 5 years, there should be a review of a plan, because what fit there then doesn't fit there now. And what's happening now is, if you look to the south of us, there is so much development going on. And Route 9, when you leave Old Bridge, when you get by Texas Road, it bottlenecks from 3 lanes down to 2. And the state is mandating all this low-income housing to be built, which is called COA. Do I have a few minutes to talk about that real quick?
I'll let you know. Yeah, keep
so
going.
I just want to talk about COA very quickly. COA is a Council on Affordable Housing, and what happens is it's really in the hands of the builders, because they call these builders interveners. And the state will come in every few years, they'll look at the towns. They actually don't even come to the town. They'll just determine how many COA units you could take. Now, in addition to those COA units, the builders get, so 20% of their buildings have to be COA units. So they get to build 80% more of market rate buildings. So what'll happen is, if they come in and say, oh, but you need 1,000 COA units, which is not unreasonable. Now the builder gets to build 5,000 apartments. But they're not doing it just to Old Bridge. They're doing it to every town in New Jersey. And if you look to the south of us in Marlborough, you see the building that's exploding there. People are driving through Old Bridge to get to their homes there. Now what happened is, COA used to be COA used to be in the hands of the legislators. It was moved into the hands of the judges. I want to see that moved from the hands of the judges back into the hands of the legislator, where it belongs, and hopefully with the help of Mayor Henry moving up to the Senate, we'll be able to do that, because I think it'll be more fair and reasonable, because pretty soon New Jersey is going to become a parking lot. And one last point, the state has not addressed the infrastructure of Route 9. Despite mandating all this building, they don't look ahead in long-range plan, and they should have thought about widening Route 9 if they were going to insist on all this housing to be built. Something has to be done at a state level, and hopefully with Mayor Henry there, we can get some help.
Thank you. Right on 3 minutes. You did good.
Okay.
All right, Councilwoman DeCaro, I'll restate the question so you have it.
Thank you.
Do you agree with the recent developments in Old Bridge, and are they in line with economic and population growth, or is there overdevelopment?
Well, that's a very difficult question, because we do need ratables to come in that are not putting a burden on our schools, on our fire, on our police. So in that regard, I'm not against warehouses per se. What I'm concerned about is the traffic. You know, as Councilwoman Walker alluded to, you know, Route 9 needs to be, we need to improve the infrastructure on Route 9, which again goes back to your question about having the relationships with state, you know, and you know, again, you have to have that solid relationship. I mean, we had Senator Sam Thompson who, you know, didn't really address that, but you know, and I'm hoping Senator, if Owen Henry gets elected, I'm hoping that he does help us here in Old Bridge, because this is his town, which would be great. And but that really is what needs to be improved, and that's what my issue has been about the warehouses. You know, again, I don't disagree with the warehouses per se, and with regard to affordable housing, you know, I know that we are mandated to have a certain percentage of our of the municipality. And I agree again with Councilwoman Walker that it does need to come out of the courts. COA actually has been abolished. The Council on Affordable Housing is no longer. We want to, what people want to do is get it back, because that's why it's in the courts right now, because the Council on Affordable Housing is no more. You know, we want to kind of get it back, you know, because I do believe that it needs to be its own agency rather than have just specific judges, you know, based on county. It's just not, it's not equitable and it's not fair. It should be one set of rules, one agency, you know, that you should go to. So you know, and affordable housing doesn't necessarily have to be apartments. You know, it can be single family homes. And you know, what's affordable housing? You know, you can look at a young person coming out of college. They get married. They're a small family. They have all this college debt. Okay, sorry. And they have all this college debt. They have a young family. They want to purchase a home. They can't afford it. Yeah. You know, they can't afford it. You know, if they want to put 20% down to avoid private mortgage insurance, you know, that's a lot of money. So an affordable housing unit, a single family for affordable housing unit, because it doesn't have to be barrack style apartments. It can be single family, you know, and they can be nice, you know, and it's a requirement. It's a mandate from the state, so we don't have a choice. But again, I do agree with Councilwoman Walker that it does need to come out of the courts and have its own agency.
Oh, great. Would you like to respond?
Yes, please. Unfortunately, the builders make more money on apartments, and they really prefer, even though we would like to see the single-family houses, they would prefer building apartments, so that's what they always push for. And as we know, if we go to the court, they usually lose in the courts. And I want to bring up the point of the warehouses with the traffic. That area was approved for about 10,000 apartments, and he was going to put barrack-style apartments there. That was going to put a major strain, thinking about 10,000, 20,000 cars on the road every day, maybe possibly 30,000 cars on the road. It would be a strain on our schools, our fire, our police, overwhelming into our roadways. And we wouldn't have gotten any benefits from that, and they'd be using township roads as well. With that, we got a $20 million improvement in our roads. Jake Brown Road is going to go out to 516. White Oak Lane is going to alleviate the traffic on Route 516 we've been waiting years for. And later I'll come back to more things about that.
Okay, great. Yeah, hey, you're good. Yeah, I know you don't see the clock,
I use
but
up every
you can see
second.
it. That's right. That's right. Well, we'll stay somewhat on the topic of development, but we're going to shift a little bit. So we know that there's a lot of waterfront development that's happened throughout the state. Numerous towns have redeveloped and created really vibrant areas within their townships. So the next question goes to Councilwoman DeCaro, and the question is, do you have plans for our waterfront in light of developments north of us in South Amboy?
Well, that's a good question, because right now, unfortunately, our waterfront is a Superfund site. And you know, we have our community activism group, CAG, that has been working. You know, they meet every month, and they are trying to figure out how to alleviate this Superfund site. So until all of that gets alleviated, and that's going to be years and years. I mean, it's starting to happen now, but it's going to be years and years before that actually happens. I wish that it would have been started a little earlier, so that this would have been cleaned up, and then I would have been able to tell you more. But I don't want to think of anything until we actually get that beachfront cleaned up, because there's so many things that we can do on that beachfront, but you can't do anything until that gets cleaned up. It would be wonderful to have that be an area where people can go from all over Old Bridge and out of town to come, but they can't come there now because it's just not viable. So it has to be cleaned up first.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Walker, do you have any plans for the waterfront?
I've been going to the CAG meeting since 2009, so I'm well informed of what's going on down at the beachfront. I've been following it very closely, and I knew once it got in the hands of the EPA with a Superfund site, it was going to move very slowly, which it has. And unfortunately for the residents down there, they're becoming very frustrated. I keep going for updates. Actually, this week we just had an update from the EPA where we have a community center planned for down there as well, a beautiful community center right on the water, replace the old recreation building. But we don't know what's going to happen with that right now because of the cleanup at the Superfund site. And the EPA is talking about potentially they've cleaned up the Margaret Creek section mostly. The section that needs to be cleaned up right in front of the rec center, they're thinking about in 2025 in the spring to put a shovel in the ground, and it will take approximately 2 years from start to finish because they have to take away the slag and then replenish the beaches and make it like new. So we're looking at a potential of 4 years, and we don't know if that's going to affect the community center, which we were really looking forward to having. And it's going to be a mess down there for 2 years while they're building. We're trying to make it as good as we can for the residents down there. So we really can't, a builder's not going to want to come in at this time yet and decide what they're going to do until the EPA can clean it up. We really wish that it could have been much quicker, but we have to wait for the EPA.
It can be a slow process.
Yes, very
that's for
slow.
Sure.
It's frustrating.
Would you like to rebut?
Just to say that, yes, with the CAG, my running mate, Dave Merwin, who was a former councilman in Ward 1, has been a member of the CAG since, he's basically a founding member. So he is with my team, and he's very well versed on what's going on down there. I mean, he knows the ins and outs of the whole thing. So we will be very on top of that and really behind the EPA, pushing them. As Councilwoman Walker said, we've just gotten an update from them, and we have to just keep on them to get the job done.
Well, I think that leads, thank you very much. That leads to one of the earlier questions. How are you going to use your relationships in the state and federal government and other areas? So right on display there. So we're back to Councilwoman Walker with our sixth question, or actually our fifth question here. And it's somewhat in the same vein, but this leads a little bit more to what Old Bridge residents see, feel, and touch every day, and what's important to them. So the question is, how will you prioritize investments in infrastructure such as roads, parks, and public facilities?
We have been very dedicated to giving back to the town. In fact, in our budget, we have $5 to $6 million per year back into the infrastructure and our parks and our recreation programs in town. Over the course of my 12 years, we've put in approximately $60 million back into the town. If you could look, we were talking about Cottrell Park right over here. Menino Park, how we're doing the fields all over there. Plus, we are going around town in each ward replacing the equipment, the playground equipment. We placed the basketball down in Lawrence Harbor and Veteran Parks over here at Geik Park. We have put some fields in over here at Geik Park behind there. And also, we have an amazing curbing and paving program in town. We now, instead of giving the same amount of money to each ward, we have a team from our engineering department that goes out with a 5-year plan. They prioritize the roads. They go out and they rank the roads in order of need. And that's how we pave them, by order of need. They go out with this ranking system. It's a point system, 100-point system. And they take points away, and the roads most in need, they will get the paving. And I'm going to continue to give back to the residents, because that's what we're here for. They put money in, they want to see results, and I think they are, especially with all our recreation we have in the town. We have this new beautiful golf course over here. We have brand new pickleball courts here that are, I don't know, they're exploding. As you know, I'm an avid pickleball player. I was instrumental in getting the pickleball courts because I saw the need for it. Actually, the town sees the need for it now, and they're saying, oh my God, we need more. If you go down there any night of the week, you'll see 50 to 60 people. On weekends, 100 people. And you know what's wonderful? You will see both young and old playing on the same court. It's amazing. It's such a camaraderie. It's like a family. I've met some wonderful friends there. It's a great social thing, especially during COVID. It was an out for us to get out and things like that. We're looking at putting bocce courts in because we had a request for them. We have cricket fields on the other side of town. We have a little bit of everything, and it's very important to give back to our residents. Am I on time now?
You're doing good.
Okay.
You're right here. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. And same with you. So, Councilwoman DeCaro, how would you invest in projects such as roads, parks, and public facilities?
Okay, so we do have a lot of things going on in this one area, you know, but what we need to do is expand and go out to, you know, what's going on over in Ward 6, what's going on over in Ward 1. Yes, the waterfront we can't really do anything with. But
for our viewers that might not know, Ward 6.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that way we just educate them.
Ward 6 is to the west. It's over by Monroe, down Englishtown Road, Duhernal Lake in there. Ward 1 is where the waterfront is where Lawrence Harbor and Cliffwood Beach.
Wonderful. I'll restart the time. So you didn't lose time by
Oh,
giving
okay.
us that education.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so but anyway, what I would like to do as mayor is really do an outreach and really explore what parts of our town need the improvements, you know, because I see a lot of things going on in this area, and we're in Ward 4, we're in Ward 4 right now, and that's where a lot of things, Ward 4 and Ward 5, are where a lot of, and Ward 2, which is where the golf course is. You know, that's where a lot of things are happening. I would like to make sure, you know, I would like to now go out and see what's going on and help to improve the things that are further out from town center. You know, really look into that. In speaking with people, going out and you know, lately I've been speaking to a lot of people. We need sidewalks. We need better lighting. There are people that are getting off of from commuting to the city and getting off the bus, and they have to have a flashlight, you know, and be walking on the street to get to their home. So things like that, like, you know, sometimes it's the smaller, really a little bit more personal things that people really want to see that actually makes their specific life on a daily basis better.
Right. Thank you so much. Would you like to respond?
Sure, I would like to respond. As far as the lights and the sidewalks, I'm sure most of the sidewalks she's talking about are either on county or state roads. So we would have to use our contacts to get something like that done, and lighting would be JCP&L, as you know. And also, as far as Ward 1, we just changed the basketball thing now, and we're going to put millions of dollars into the community center I told you about, and then we're waiting for the cleanup down there. And Veterans Park has just been redone, the basketball court there, and we are looking to put some more things in veteran parks as well. Unfortunately, a lot of things are in this area of town. And we do have a cricket field also out in Ward 6 too.
Right.
But whatever needs it, no matter what part of town, we don't try to pick on one ward or the other. It just happens to be the location of where things are located. But whenever anything's in need, like in Ward 3, we're going to be changing the playground. We just did the basketball course in Central Park Development. Now we're going to be doing the playground.
Wonderful.
So we touch every area of the town.
Well, thank you. 1 minute on the dot. Good
Okay.
job. Okay, so next question. So we mentioned it earlier with Waterfront and the promotion and bringing people from outside of the town, because those funds that are made outside of town that can be spent on businesses here or in our township. So this next question goes in line with that, and this is going to go to Councilwoman DeCaro first. So what plans do you have to promote tourism or attract visitors to our township, benefiting our local economy?
Well, you know, first of all, if we get that waterfront cleaned up, that will promote tourism, because it's a close beachfront that people will love to come to instead of having to drive all the way down the shore. This will be a close area where people can come. once that all gets built up, then there can be a plan to have, other things built there to enhance people to come. We do have, I think, like our tennis courts, our ice skating rink, people from out of town come and do that too. And if we do, again, get our stores, our storefronts all filled and make that accessible and inviting to our out of town residents, because right now we have so much. We have Route 9, we have Route 35, we have Route 516. We have so many so many roads that connect. We don't want people to just drive through. We want people to stop and spend their money. And we need to find ways to make that happen. Just make things more inviting for our town.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that answer. So how would you promote tourism and attract visitors to the Township of Old Bridge?
As you know, David, we have just recently opened a hotel in Old Bridge, which we never had before. Yes. And it's been filled up every night. We've been talking to the owners, and we have some of our meetings over there. And it's wonderful for people that have, say they raise their family here, they move into a smaller home, there's nowhere for their children to stay, or friends coming in from out of town. Also, we have so many things right now for people to visit. We are so blessed to have a state park right in our town, Cheesequake Park. I actually worked there for a while. It's a beautiful park if nobody's been there. Hiking trails, there's a lake, it's absolutely beautiful. And now we have the new golf course that hopefully will attract people. It's the first county golf course built, I believe, in like 20 years. It also has a driving range and a mini golf. So it has something for everyone in the family. So if you don't golf, you could play mini golf. As far as the waterfront goes, it's still a beautiful place to walk. We have walkways. If you go to the Cliffwood Beach section, I don't know if anybody's been down there, but I encourage you to go. You could walk along this walkway. It's absolutely beautiful. You could go down by the beach there. And I walk often with my dog down by Lawrence Harbor area. And even though the beach is closed over there, it doesn't stop from looking at the beauty, looking across at Manhattan. I go down there sometimes just watch the sunset. It's absolutely stunning. So we do have a lot to offer. Also, our head of economic development, Steve Mackis, has been bringing a lot of restaurants to town. They're trying to make a Shops of Old Bridge like a go-to restaurant. He's working on getting some more restaurants in there, and we currently have a few in there now. Now we're going to have a Mexico opening over here, over on 516. Sophia's Taqueria is opening, where the old Bridgeway Diner was. So we are going to be a go-to place for restaurants in the future. Because like I said, a lot of retail shops, people buy online now, and people unfortunately don't shop at these small businesses. So we're trying to rethink of how to attract businesses here, because it helps the town with the taxes. If we have more businesses, it helps alleviate the burden on the taxpayer.
All right, great. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say, just to add to that, is that with our new businesses, we do need to, a lot of times I'm hearing that new businesses sometimes have a lot of trouble with getting permits and the code enforcement. I mean, I think we have a wonderful code enforcement department. I think it's a little bit understaffed, so that would be helpful in order to promote and help the new businesses to open up. That's
great. Great, thank you. And I'll testify before we even get into the next question. My wife and I went to Cheesequake for the first time.
Oh, really?
And it is. I'm sad to say that I didn't go there for sooner, but we did a running trail through there, and it's stunning. It's ups and downs. There's marshlands. There's signage that's there. 120-year-old trees are in that park. We couldn't walk for 3 days afterwards, but it was a stunning park. It's a challenging park, but there's also some flat spots too. So I don't want to dissuade anybody from going, but it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful part of our township.
Yeah, I worked there for 2 years. So I was fortunate to have a behind-the-scenes tour, and you would be amazed that they had the old docks where the boats used to come in. You could see the foundations and things like that.
Very pretty.
It's a beautiful park, and I encourage people to go there if you haven't been there. Lots of eagles there. Lots of eagles there.
Yeah. I'll show you guys a picture afterwards, but it was a little wet the day before. I went running, slipped, fell all into mud, but it was a fun picture my wife got.
I was just there today, actually.
It's a blackmail photo. So, all right. So we'll jump back in. So there's a lot of talk in the news. There's conflicting reports, but this is a good question because this may happen during the tenure of the next mayor. And if it were necessary during a pending or perhaps coming up economic slowdown, what areas of the budget would you cut or trim? So this question goes to you, Councilwoman Walker.
Well, we've been through many things, as you know. We've been through Super Sam. I always say that wrong. We'll just say Sandy.
There you go.
We've been through Sandy and COVID, and we've come through unscathed. And I'm going to say that's because of our great financial planning. We always committed to the residents of Old Bridge that when we took office, that's what we were going to do. We took the town from a deficit, like I told you before, to a surplus. And we made it through, because of the great financial planning, we were able to make it. And I believe that we can make it through any problem that comes our way because we are financially prepared. We used to be on quicksand, now we're on solid financial standing. We have a AA positive Moody bond rating, which allows us to borrow at a very low interest rate. Even the state or audit, we get no exceptions. We do such a great job with the money, and I'm confident that we will get through anything that is thrown at us. Like the mayor has been through so many things, we've been through, like I said, Sandy, COVID, we had the Pathmark shooting. So many things have cost so much money, and we haven't put the burden back on the taxpayer. We've managed to get through it, and we'll do it again.
Great, thank you. And Councilwoman DeCaro, how would you plan during economic slowdowns? What areas of the budget would you trim or cut?
That's an extremely difficult question, and one that I was faced with for 5 years on the Board of Education. And it's a question that you just can't answer, right, until you really are faced with the situation. And I know that firsthand. And we on the Board of Education were able to maintain all of our programs and continue to serve our students the way we needed to serve them, and we had to think outside the box and do many things. And the other thing that's important is, as you know, our current business administrator has just retired. And so we're going to need, I think really what's important is that we have a very effective business administrator. We just appointed a chief financial officer, and we need to, he or she is the person that will help guide us through making these decisions, And again, as I say, when you're faced with a difficult decision, you need to listen to all sides, you need to gather all the facts, and then you need to make a decision based on what the right thing is to do and what is best for the residents of Old Bridge. So, nobody wants for anything like that to happen, but if that does happen, I would be definitely ready to make decisions and to keep this town running the way it needs, the way we're used to.
Great, thank you. Would you like to respond to anything she said?
I wouldn't let the town get into such bad financial shape that we would have to sell things to balance our budget like the previous administration. And I know as far as the school board goes, they were getting money for more students than were attending school, and that's one of the reasons the governor took back some of the state aid, and I think they had to close Blue Ribbon Cheesequake School as a result of that. There were mixed things of reasons why given. First, we were told it was structurally unsafe for children, but then I was confused because then the Sayreville children went there, and
30 seconds.
Okay, and I couldn't understand, but now I hear that it was because of budgetary reasons I had seen.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. So that actually leads into a question that is on here. And this will be directed to Councilwoman DeCaro. So we talked about an economic slowdown. What areas of the budget would you cut? Being that you're on council now, both of you, because you'll both get a chance to answer this question, are there areas of the budget that should be cut today? Please.
I really do believe that what I'd like to see is, there were some areas in the budget, when we looked in the budget, when we were going through the budget that I think could have been trimmed down. But honestly, I think, I do think that everything that is being spent on things that need to be spent. I can't say that any easier. I'm not, we need to pay our staff. I actually think we need more, I actually think we need more staff in certain areas. I think that I think there's plenty we have the right programs. I think, honestly, we need to, even our police department, I think probably we need more, But again, it's budgetary, How are you going to do that and still keep taxes stable? I'm sorry, I'm joking.
No, please, have a sip. We want you to be able to tell the audience your point. So,
but
sounds like a Sprite commercial.
Yeah.
Please.
No, I actually think we need more services. But again, you need to keep your taxes stable. So I would like to see actually more. I would like to increase our rec department too, to make sure all of our areas are accessible to people of all abilities, because I don't think they all are now. And I can't see anything that we would cut right now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Councilman Walker, is there any areas of the budget that you would consider cutting today or as your time on council that you've seen that you would like to see trimmed out?
As you know, this budget has already been approved, and we couldn't cut anything if we wanted to from it. And we go through the budget line item by line item. We're given the budget books well in advance of the budget introduction, and then we have these series of 3 meetings that are open to the public. They're very transparent. If you have any questions, you could ask them before you get to the budget meetings or at the budget meeting. If anything needs to be cut, that's the time for you to speak up that you think it should be cut. And moving forward for the next year's budget, if I feel there's something that could be cut, that there's fat in there that wouldn't affect any services, then I would be more than happy to look into it to see to save taxpayers' money. As you know, we did such a good job this year. We had a 1.09 tax decrease for the residents while not cutting services. We actually improved services. And I think we're doing a fantastic job with the budget. I'm very proud of the job we've done with the budget.
Great, thank you. Is there any response that you'd like to add as far as the budget?
If I don't choke.
No, take your time. If you need to take another swig, go for it.
It's fine.
I'm going to follow you.
So with regard to that, when we had our budget meetings, it was after the budget was presented to the council and adopted or approved, and then it goes up to state. So when we were doing these, and not totally approved though, like that, we would have a second meeting. So when we were doing these budget meetings, and I had questions, and I remember being told, well, we can't really change it now because then we would have to send it back up to the state again, and it would be a whole big thing. So it was specifically, had to do with salaries for the mayor and the council, and that money is in there, but nobody's putting an ordinance up for it, but it's just extra money that's in there. So, I think it was either $65,000 or $75,000 that's just sort of sitting there.
30 seconds.
And nobody really knew, nobody was planning on putting an ordinance in for that, but it was sitting there. So I was questioning that, and I would have liked for that to have been adjusted, but it couldn't have been adjusted because it had already gone up to the state.
Gotcha.
Can I rebut that?
We're at 1 minute, so that question's over. But you might have some times or some interweaving.
Yes.
So hold on to that thought. So we will jump to some more questions about should you prevail as mayors. This question is, what measures will you take to promote transparency and ethical conduct within the local government under your administration? So that goes to you, Councilwoman Debbie.
Oh, okay. Well, right now we're talking about the budget with the transparency. Before, we never used to have these budget meetings that Mr. DeCaro was talking about. And the budget, when it's introduced, which is before our meetings that I talked about, things can be changed in the budget. And we get those books way before this introduction. We have plenty of time to look at them. And we can talk about if we don't like anything in there. And then we have these meetings that are open to the public that are very transparent. Anyone from the public could come, could answer questions. I look through the book on my own. If I have questions, I don't have to wait for the budget meeting. But if some more come up, I do. But until the budget is actually physically adopted, it can be changed. So I just want to clarify that. And it is we are very transparent in our budget. Anyone could ask questions whenever they want about it. And we do a whole presentation to the public as well. The public is welcome to come, and we're not having nothing to hide, and they're welcome to ask as many questions as they want. As far as the ethics questions, we do have an ethics board in town. If anybody sees anything wrong, they could file complaints.
Okay. More work for the township. Councilwoman DeCaro, what measures would you promote under your administration for transparency and ethical conduct?
Well, so just again to clarify with the budget question, you know, the budget is like this big, right? So you know, you kind of try to wait for the meetings to have, you know, the business administrator say blah 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 blah, you know, like, you know, this is this and this is this, and yes, you can ask questions beforehand, of course, but once we get to the budget meeting, I mean, I was literally told we can't change it now because it would, yes, it's possible to change it, but we can't change it now because it would be too complicated a process. So, you know, we're in a little disagreement on that. Because I literally asked the question and it was literally stated in the budget meeting. And yes, the budget meetings are public, you know, nobody comes. You know, I wish they would, but we even had that problem, you know, when I was on the Board of Education. People don't come. Even on the Board of Education, you know, we'd have all these budget presentations, you know, our business administrator would present, and, you know, then there would still be people questioning that budget. So, you know, many times people question budgets when they don't know, you know, what it's about. So, ethics?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as far as ethics goes, you know, we do have an ethics committee, you know, and just on that, you know, we have a lot of committees in our township, and, you know, I try to nominate people that I think are good, and, you know, to be on these committees, and I have yet to have one of my nominees accepted, you know, which is frustrating because I believe that there needs to be an intersection of, you know, different people, you know, not just very one-sided. And, you know, we do have an ethics board that I don't know how many complaints are put to them, but we do have an ethics board that things can go to, yes.
Okay, great. Is there anything that you'd like to,
yes.
to rebut on? Please,
even though
1 minute.
Even though the budget is quite thick, I do take the time to go through the budget before we go to the meeting, because as I said before, I was a fire commissioner and we had to do our own budgets. So I understand budgeting. I understand how we could move things within a category, and in November we can move things out of different categories into other categories. And we have that ability in November. Mr. DeCaro was alluding to the fact that there was money that could not be moved. That's not true. It can be moved in November if it so need so be.
Okay, all right, great. Well, thank you very much. On to the next question. You mentioned no one goes to the council meetings. Maybe as mayor, one of the two of you will commit to popcorn and soda at the council meetings to get some people in there.
I think a lot of people watch it from home, though.
Right, yeah.
YouTube is wonderful.
Yeah. And I would say that the crew here at Old Bridge TV has been doing an amazing job of getting those cameras updated and the sound and letting the residents be able to watch that. So kudos to all y'all in the back and over here behind the cameras.
We've invested a lot of money into our.
That's right. We got this new table here. What do you think about this table?
In the courtroom.
Yeah.
It was very outdated from the 70s with the old orange colors.
Yep. It looks good in there.
Yeah.
Looks good in there. Okay, so last question went to Councilwoman Debbie. Okay. We will go to Councilwoman Jill DeCaro. And this one almost jumps off of one of your comments about having, you know, a fairness within the wards or the different parts of town. So how would you plan to bridge the gap between different neighborhoods and ensure that all areas of town receive equal attention?
Thank you. That's a great question. One of the things that I have committed to doing is holding town halls. And, because people come to the council meeting, and it's very difficult for families. I talked about young families before. It's very difficult for young families, with young kids. They're traveling to sports, as you know, traveling to sports, and all of these activities. It's real, making dinner, getting them to bed. It's really difficult for people to get out to council meetings and have only 3 minutes to speak. I know it's just recently been cut down from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. And it's very difficult to come and there's no question and answer, which I don't disagree with. It's just, there's no question and answer. They come, they make a statement, and then we have an opportunity during council comments to respond. But there's no back and forth, there's no dialogue, which, that's the way it is. What I'd like to do is go out to all the different areas, whether it be ward specific, whether it be neighborhood specific, and have town halls and meet people really where they are. Sometimes doing it at night, sometimes doing it during the day. You get different people, because we have families, we also have single residents, single people that have odd hours. Some people work at night, some people are commuting to the city, they get home very late, maybe the weekend might be better for them. So you really need to meet people where they are, and you go out and then have that more informal conversation with them, that back and forth, in a very comfortable way. What are your concerns? What's happening? What's going on with your streets? So that you can have that personal touch with them. That's very important. And people really appreciate what, when you actually come out to speak to them. I'm the representative for Ward 4. But I have fielded questions from people from different wards. I'm currently back and forth with someone who's in Ward 1, who, because I seem to be the only one that's talking to her. And, so it's not about yes, I'm Ward 4 council person, but I believe that we need to, extend ourselves to everybody, because everybody in Old Bridge. And as far as bringing everybody together, our schools they don't go by ward, but they go by area. But all of those schools end up going to 2 middle schools, end up going to 1 high school. So, and with our recreational sports and everything, I believe that there's not really a disparity in the wards. I think that somebody from Ward 1 maybe might not know somebody from Ward 6, but they're going to know a lot of people in the area. Sorry.
No, perfect. That was good. You finished it great. Councilwoman Debbie, how do you plan to bridge the gap between different neighborhoods and ensure that all areas of town receive your equal attention should you prevail as mayor?
I'm an open door. I have my phone number. You can reach me whenever you want. My email. I know Ms. DeCaro alluded to town halls. When she ran for Ward 4, she promised she was going to have town hall meetings, and she hasn't had them. I'm always accessible to the residents, and we were looking into maybe we have office hours at our headquarters right now, and just a few people have popped in, but I think people feel more comfortable talking to you on the phone. I receive a lot of phone calls mostly, or emails, and I've actually gone to people's homes to adjust things. And another thing that we have in town, I don't know if people are aware of, it's called the HOA connection, what Councilwoman Sohor has formed. And it brings, sometimes we could have I don't know if you ever attended one, we have 60 to 70 people come. So they come from all areas of town, just a few representatives. And we usually have somebody there from the police department or public works. And we actually had a lady from JCP&L if they had any questions about the lighting in their developments. And they come, they get this information, and they bring it back to their wards. Also, our head of economic development, Stephen Mackus, attends all these meetings, and he is kind enough to take the administrative report that is produced every council meeting, and he makes sure that it reaches all these HOAs. So it's a great way for us to reach so many people in town. And of course, people know each other. And then even we talk about the sports, that brings people together. Like pickleball, I meet people from all over town. So we're always involved in different things, whether it be the ice skating or sports or everything. Everyone in Old Bridge knows everyone wherever you go. So if anyone has a problem, I am always accessible. And I don't know what she's alluding to about it. If somebody contacts me, I do contact them back.
Okay, great. Would you like to please respond?
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't referring to Councilwoman Walker as not responding. It was another council person, so I just want to clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just no, really, that's true. But as with regard to town halls, I did when I first got on the council. I had meetings with the people in the arbors because they were concerned about speeding. And we met, we spoke, and we had Zoom meetings because people were still a little afraid.
30 seconds.
And we so I tried to help them. Ran into a few brick walls because speed bumps are not allowed. Trying to have that discussion to find a resolution. We still have not found one. There was something else, but I know I'm going to run out. So now Now I got distracted.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. That was a good response. So thank you. One of the most important things as a mayor is the protection of the residents. So so this last question went to Councilwoman Jill DeCaro. This one will go to you, Councilwoman Debbie. But how will you, as mayor, continue to support police, fire, and first responders and ensure that we have enough for the safety and protection of our residents?
I'm very proud of our record with the police department. We have gone from 76 police officers to 105 since I've been in office. And as the town grows, we're going to continue to add to our police force. Also, we've invested over $6 million into a new police radio system. As you know, the fire and first aid share the same radio system, and I knew it was a mess because my husband's a volunteer fireman with Cheesequake. He's been on for about 35 years, so I'm very involved with emergency responses, and the radios were really failing. They were held together with the Band-Aid. So when we got into office, the first thing we did was purchase a new radio system. It's very important to have a safe community, because that's what most people, that's what they want. They want to live in a safe community. We want to make it as safe as possible. I also want to have a traffic safety committee when I get elected, because I would like to address some of the safety concerns. We are trying to address them now. I don't know if you've seen in some of the intersections, we have the solar stop signs. Myself and Councilwoman Sohor got the first ones, and we put them at dangerous intersections. Also, on some of those roads, we now have some solar radar machines that seem to be helping slowing down. As Mr. DeCaro alluded to, speed bumps are illegal. It's not only because of our town ordinance. There is a state ordinance that does not allow speed bumps. So if they're in other towns where people say they're not there legally, they're not allowed to have them in the state. And there's many reasons, because of the response time for the emergency vehicles. Just recently, we had a very bad fire in Glenwood Apartments where a 3-year-old girl was rescued by one of our Cheesequake firemen. He was just awarded this weekend. Now, had they been slowed down in response time with these speed bumps, maybe that life would have been lost. So we have to think about that. I think we have to go about other ways to try to control the speeding. And I think with my traffic safety committee, we're going to address these concerns and hopefully get a handle on it. It's not just Old Bridge that's having these problems. It's statewide. As you drive all around, seems like people.
1 minute.
Okay, it just seems like people are just driving recklessly today. They're on their phones. They're not paying attention. Even when you're walking through parking lots, they're speeding. But we're going to get a handle on it. Like I said, it's working with the radar things. And I live on an intersection that's a very bad intersection, that we put one of the first flashing stop signs, and I can attest that it has helped tremendously with cars going through the stop sign. We're going to always work with the police department, our community, and some members of the council, and we're going to come together. We're going to fix this.
Wonderful. Councilwoman Jill, how will you continue to support police, fire, and first responders for the protection of our residents, as well as making sure we have enough?
Absolutely. So yes, a lot of officers have been hired in the past 12 years, because when they first came into office, a lot were laid off. So right now we pretty much have the same amount of police officers as we had prior to the administration. we're still, I don't believe, I'm not sure, but I don't believe we're still at the ordinance, where the Old Bridge has an ordinance for the amount of police officers we should have, and we're definitely under what the standard is, you know, how many officers per resident. So, you know, and that's, I wouldn't say to go that high, but I think, you know, 115, 120 officers would be, and it's because I think we need to put a lot of officers in traffic safety, because it's funny, I've been talking about having a traffic safety committee for a while, and I think it's very important. You know, again, first thing I started when I came to the council was safety, you know, the streets, the speeding. You know, that was my first thing that I was addressing, because that was the concerns of people. Speeding on Phillips Drive, speeding on Valleyvale, speeding on Nathan, speeding on Preston. I mean, these are things that people were talking about. And, you know, so absolutely, I think we need to put more money, and especially with the warehouses that are coming, you know, that traffic needs to be mitigated, and that's going to be, you know, yes, the roads are a state road, but that we do need to have police officers and police presence there to make sure that you know, gets handled, you know, that traffic gets mitigated. And there was another part of your question.
Oh, it was just police, fire, first responders. How would you make sure that we had enough, but then that they have the support to protect their residents?
Right, right. The other thing
In
is
1 minute.
we need to hire. We have not had a permanent police chief in 2.5 years. You know, and it's not to say anything against the acting chiefs that we've had. You know, but we should have a permanent police chief, and that is one of the first things that I would do, is make sure to appoint a permanent police chief. So that, because right now I don't believe that the morale in the police department is good because of it. You know, there's just not good morale there. You know, and I've spoken to many of them. So that's the other thing. And as far as the fire and the EMTs, you know, again, we have, you know,
15 seconds.
my at-large council person, Dave Merwin, is, you know, EMT. He's very big, you know, he's constantly answering calls. So we very much support all of those people.
Great, great. Thank you. Councilwoman Debbie, would you like to respond?
Yes, I'd like to disagree with her figures with the police officers. There were
1 minute.
Oh, okay. When we took office, like I told you, we were a $7 million deficit. 10 officers were laid off, but they were quickly rehired, and we have grown the force tremendously. Also, I disagree with the fact that hiring more policemen is going to help alleviate traffic, because if that were the case, then every town in New Jersey would just hire more police officers and we'd have no traffic. And that would be a simple solution. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. And before I forgot to add about, you asked about the fire. As you know, my husband's a volunteer fireman, and I wholly support the fire company. We actually do have some paid staff now because it's needed, because a lot of people don't volunteer like they did years ago. So we saw the need, and we have daytime coverage of paid people, so there's always coverage. People don't have to worry, and we're very supportive of our fire, our EMS, and our police.
Wonderful, thank you. So, as mayor, there are difficult situations that come up, difficult social situations. So this next question will start off with Councilwoman Jill. And how would you address the issue of drug abuse and addiction within our town and provide support to those affected?
Well, we have our Municipal Alliance Committee, and I think they do a very good job of outreach. Originally it was drug awareness, and now they're trying to focus on drug prevention. I know we just got a small grant from the opioid problem, and we're using that. It's very small comparatively to the problem that we're having, you know, but we need to have more outreach. We need to keep expanding our Municipal Alliance program. You know, we have programs in the schools. We have and just keep expanding that, and really educate not only the children but the parents. You know, for the students. You know, at one point years ago, pre-COVID, our superintendent required, it was mandatory for 8th grade parents to take this drug awareness program before they got tickets to the 8th grade graduation, because there are so many, I mean, kids are smart. There's so many different, unfortunately, so many different ways that they can sneak things that we as adults would never think of. So we need to make sure that everyone is aware and have that knowledge of all of the different ways, to protect our children, because, and then for adults, we need to provide the resources for rehab and, just all of that, and we're doing that, but it's expanding, but we need to continue to expand that, It's all about awareness and it's about prevention, and I wholeheartedly support that, and I would love to grow that program.
Thank you for your answer. Councilwoman Debbie, how would you deal with the issue of drug abuse and addiction and provide support to those that are affected?
We have our municipal alliance, and we are so blessed to have Rosemary Rivoti as head of our municipal alliance. Rosemary is a go-getter, as the mayor likes to call her, Ronado, because she's always going and giving her 100% to this. She has committed to this program 100% to the drug and alcohol abuse. It's very important. The drug awareness programs, there actually were a few in the municipal center, and it was very sad. I attended several of them, but a lot of people did not show up. And I think it's very important for parents to get involved, because Ms. DeCaro, like she said, the parents are not aware that their kids are taking drugs the way they hide them. And we learned so much at these meetings that if more parents could see it, maybe we can make it available to them to watch on YouTube, and maybe again make it mandatory to watch in the schools. Because with peer pressure, it's really hard to resist things, and kids are very good at hiding things from their parents. But I have the utmost confidence in Rosemary. She's doing a tremendous job at our municipal alliance.
Great. Would you like to respond to anything in addition?
Just to say that Councilwoman Walker and I are in agreement on that problem.
It's a challenging situation.
Yeah.
But I know that you ladies are doing a phenomenal job. We're getting a little bit closer to the end. Do we have time for one more question? We have a few more questions to go, but we definitely want to give you your time at the end to do your closing remarks.
Okay.
So we have just questions. So what we'll do is we'll change the answer to, we have 12 minutes left. The next question will have a 1-minute response. Okay, so speed talk.
Speed talk really fast.
It's like
the speed round.
Like the end of the commercial.
like Evelyn Woods, but for speed.
All right,
Speech.
so we will go with Councilwoman Debbie. And how will you prioritize the preservation of our city's historical and cultural heritage? 1 minute.
Okay, I'm on the Historical Society, so I'm very involved in preserving things. As you know, Old Bridge was a farming community at one time, and we are preserving some of the farms, like Cottrell Park over here, the Rose Lamberson farm. I was actually blessed to live there when it was actually being farmed. Mrs. Rose lived across the street from me, and they were farmed. It was beautiful to watch it being farmed, but now it's just as beautiful watching it as a golf course. Also, the Gaspercheck Variety Farm has been preserved. Also, down off of Morganville Road, there was supposed to be a lot of building there. 230 acres were preserved by my running mate, Dr. Anita Greenberg-Belli. She personally went out and she preserved 232 acres over there. And that's preserving the history. And I don't have a lot of time to tell you that I personally know a lot of people that grew up here when it was a farming community. I was very involved in many organizations with them throughout the years, and it was such a pleasure knowing them.
Great, wonderful. 1 minute. All right. So,
it's hard.
Councilwoman Jill, 1 minute. How will you preserve our historical and cultural heritage? As Councilwoman Debbie said, we have a large farming culture. So how would you help preserve that? 1 minute.
Again,
go.
Okay, sorry. Okay, again, with our open space, open space preservation, that would all go towards preserving these farmlands, period. That would be what that would be for. We also have our Thomas Warren Museum that has a lot of history in there. You know, it would be great to see that grow a little bit. You know, it's right across the street from the high school, and there's a lot of history, Old Bridge history in that building right there. So there's a lot of, and that's the one thing, as I'm out walking, I speak to a lot of residents that are upset that, you know, they see that the town is changing, and they're upset that, you know, it's maybe losing a little bit of the integrity. But I understand, you know, progress is important, and things have to grow, you know, and so it's a balancing act.
Yes, it is, and
Okay.
it's a tough one.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
tightrope. It's a tightrope.
Yes.
So I just want to check our time. Are we in good shape for closing minutes? Okay. So we actually have maybe one more question.
Okay, do I get a rebuttal?
That we can go. We'll
Okay, go
let's get
ahead.
one
Yeah,
more
go ahead.
question in. So and this will start with Councilwoman Jill, because we started with you
Okay.
last time, and we'll try to do the same thing, maybe about 2 minutes, because we still have 2-minute closing remarks, so we have a little bit of time here. So how would you plan to ensure our city remains resilient and prepared for natural disasters, because we're near the water, and we've had Sandy, and we've had COVID, and we've had some very difficult things? How would you ensure that our city remains resilient and prepared in emergencies? Please, 2 minutes.
Well, we have a wonderful Office of Emergency Management that you know, we refer to whenever there is any kind of emergency. During Sandy, Sandberg was you know, created. You know, FEMA came in and made that a shelter. So we have all of these buildings that are, you know, a lot of our school buildings can be used during natural disaster, you know. So we have the structures in place, you know, the buildings, school buildings, and you know, like I said, during Sandy, they came out, and you know, they were unbelievable, you know, in their response. So I think that we are very prepared.
Great, thank you. How would you prepare our town for any natural disasters, that we would be ready and resilient through them?
Once again, we're very lucky to have Mike Petchower as the head of our OEM. Mike is phenomenal. He's also a volunteer Cheesequake fireman. And we do have a comprehensive plan that the OEM has to put before the state, and is approved by the state. They are ready for any natural disaster or disaster that come our way. Also, our fire departments, they are trained to the highest level state standards. A volunteer fireman has to go through the same training as a paid fireman. They go through drills continuously to be prepared for many situations. Our police force goes through continued training. Our EMS, we are prepared for any situation that comes our way. Plus, we have alert systems in place. We have the red alert, we have texting. And we also have old school fire horns if the need be for them to go off. But I have confidence in our OEM.
Great, great. And you know, those are the unsung heroes when you
Absolutely.
need someone to come and
Anyone
save
that knows Mike, he's amazing.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. Well, we are near the end, and ready for our closing remarks. So I just want to congratulate both of you for enduring me as your host, sitting here for 2 hours under the lights and the pressure. But we thank you for being here. So as you started with the opening remarks and questions, we will now give you the opportunity for your 2-minute closing remarks. You can look directly to your audience and speak to the township.
Okay. Hi. So again, my name is Jill DeCaro. 25-year resident, 25-year volunteer, and I believe that I am the right person for the job. I believe that I have a vision, a forward-thinking, family-first vision for Old Bridge, and I think I would make the right decisions. And based on factual information, I'm a very inclusive person. I am a very approachable person, and I will be going out to meet people where they are. And I just hope to have your vote. And if anybody ever has any questions or needs to reach me, my phone number is 732-261-2342. Email jilldecaro@gmail.com or jdecaro@oldbridge.com, whichever one. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you. Column A.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeCaro. We thank you for your closing remarks. Councilwoman Debbie Walker, please look at your audience and provide us your closing remarks.
I'm Debbie Walker. All my experience, my wealth of experience of my 12 years on the council, my 6 years on the Board of Fire Commissioner doing budgets, has prepared me for the role of mayor of your town. I can hit the ground running from day one. I will not need on-the-job training. I have made many good decisions. I have moved the town forward. I want to keep Old Bridge on track in the way it's going right now. We are financially stable right now. We had a municipal tax decrease this year of 109%, while the county went up almost 18%, the school board went up, but the municipal taxes actually went down. Over my 12 years in office, we have only raised taxes 7%, which is phenomenal for all the services we have provided, all the improvements we've done to the recreations programs. We're going to continue to do that. I promise I will not sell land to balance the budget. I will not do one-shot revenues. I will be here and ear for you and listen. Just please look at my record. It speaks for itself. I've made sound financial decisions. I'd be found on column B. Please vote column B all the ways down. If you need to reach me, I'm always accessible. You can find me on the township website, and I will call you right back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And ladies, it has been a pleasure to be here with both of you. Your love and care for Old Bridge just exudes. Everyone can see it. I know I can. And this is not an easy thing for you to do. So we thank you for coming out, allowing the voters to listen to you, some that may have meeting you for the first time through this debate. But we appreciate your time and your courtesy for coming here and the civility. This is exactly what Old Bridge needs. So we thank you both.
Thank you, David, for hosting and taking
you.
time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
we
you.
appreciate
it's
it
a
very
true
much.
You're a
pleasure.
busy man.
It's a
Thank
true
you.
pleasure. As this debate comes to an end, I extend my heartfelt thanks to each candidate, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to public service and their dedication to our beloved Old Bridge Township. Your passionate words, your ideas, and unwavering spirit have truly inspired us all. A special mention must also be made to the hardworking Old Bridge TV staff behind the scenes, whose tireless efforts ensured the smooth running of this event. From the technicality to the coordinating of light, to sound, to the camera operations, they skillfully captured every moment, and our producer who meticulously crafted this remarkable debate. We owe you a debt of gratitude for your unwavering commitment to excellence. Lastly, but certainly not least, I extend my deep appreciation to the remarkable audience who joined us here today and watched this debate. Your commitment to civic participation and your genuine interest in the future of Old Bridge Township are truly commendable. It is your collective voice that will shape the outcome of this election, and I encourage you to carry the spirit of democracy forward as you make your decision. As we bring this to a close, let us not forget the significance of this event and the power it holds. Our candidates have demonstrated their love for our community, their creativity, and their intelligence in addressing the challenges we face. They have presented their visions for the brighter future, and it is now our responsibility to listen, reflect, and make informed choices to align with the values and aspirations of Old Bridge Township. On behalf of the entire debate organizing team, I extend my sincere thanks to the candidates, to the Old Bridge TV staff, and our audience. May the spirit of this debate resonate within our hearts and guide us towards a future filled with prosperity, harmony, and shared success. Thank you, and may the spirit of Old Bridge Township continue to shine brightly in all that we do. I'm David Hernandez, Jr., and thank you for watching.